Anyway, it's the topic the government just can't sweep away, isn't it? On Saturday, Labour Cabinet Minister Lucy Powell became embroiled in a fresh grooming gang row. Her comments sent shockwaves through the media, with calls from both the public and victims for her to resign.
I don't know whether you saw the documentary on Channel 4 about rape gangs over
No,
this.
we want to blow that little trumpet now, do we? Yeah, okay.
There was a real issue.
Let's get that dog whistle out, shall we? Yeah.
Yes, Powell made those comments on BBC Radio 4's Any Questions when asked by journalist Tim Montgomerie about them. Lucy Powell has since apologised and was defended by her colleagues on the Labour rounds yesterday. Here's Health Secretary Wes Streeting speaking to GB News' Camilla Tominey yesterday morning.
She's rightly apologised for what she said on Radio 4 on Friday night and said, you know, she's made a genuine mistake. She's genuinely sorry. She shouldn't have said what she said to Tim Montgomerie. That wasn't the right response to fair and reasonable points he was making. Well, because she's human and we make mistakes. And I've been in those debate formats before where sometimes in the heat of debate you say something that you didn't mean or it comes across in a way that you didn't intend and you really wish you'd rather not have said it.
Wes Streeting was very adamant that her apology had reached Tim Montgomerie and the Prime Minister has accepted her remorse. But who is it here that really needs an apology? Well, I'm very grateful to say that Tim Montgomerie himself, along with my panel, former Conservative MP and Minister Sir John Redwood, and I beg your pardon, it is the full title, I'm correct, and political commentator Dominic Moffat are here. Tim, maybe talk us through the moments that this took to happen, because you were asking her about the Grooming Gang documentary, the Channel 4 Grooming Gang documentary that dropped just a couple of days prior. How did it play out on your end? Because we were only hearing it, of course, here.
Well, the context was Reform's policy of getting rid of diversity officers in local councils. And both, actually, the Liberal Democrat representative on the panel and representative, this was a peripheral policy. And what I was trying to do by talking about the grooming, we should call them raping gangs, scandal, was to say it's not really the number of diversity officers that you have that is the problem. It's the fact that, racial justice is incredibly important.
Right.
But it sort of is taking on a sort of prominence in the public sector beyond all balance, and other legitimate issues are sort of crowded out. So the ethos means, and I thought the grooming gangs was the perfect illustration of it, that people will put sensitivity towards community relations above even the protection of children. Now, that was an extreme sort of manifestation of that culture, but we see it in schools, we see it in council policies on languages. So many illustrations of putting that first. But I didn't get a chance to say all that.
Sure.
Because I did, on a programme like GBNews, you actually listen to what your panellists say.
We tried our best, we did.
Before I'd really even begun to make that point, there was no partisanship until then. I was just trying to explain the policy. Lucy Powell went on the attack. And I've learned two main things about it. First of all, lots of people on the left came to my defence over the weekend, not hers. I think there are younger people on the left in the Labour Party who are outraged about what some of the politicians in their party are saying. And I can't say too much, but I've been contacted by two Labour cabinet ministers who have said, I was right, Lucy was wrong, and there is a debate in the Labour Party about how the party still hasn't taken this seriously and needs to. I don't think it's a coincidence that there was a big Muslim vote in Lucy Powell's seat, I'm afraid.
So Trevor Phillips also said the same thing. He did say they were pandering to votes.
There's a lot of electoral politics here.
Have you been getting a load of spam in your email recently? What about random calls? It's really annoying, isn't it? Data brokers are out there collecting your personal information. Anything from your email, your full name, your address, and even your political affiliation. Cyber criminals can even use AI to mimic the voices of friends and family to trick people into sending them money. And it gets even worse. People out there are getting huge loans taken out in their names without even knowing about it. But don't worry, because the sponsor of this video, Incogni, can help. They reach out to the data brokers on your behalf and request that your information is removed from their databases. Incogni continues to make sure that your data is removed automatically from the internet via repeated removal requests. So, how can you get started? Well, step one, Hit the link in the description, create an Incogni account and tell us whose data you'd like removed. Step 2, grant Incogni the right to work on your behalf. Step 3, sit back, relax and watch Incogni work. They will update consistently so you know when your data has been removed. Incogni is risk-free for 30 days, so you can try it for yourself and you'll get a free refund if the service isn't for you. So take back your personal data today with Incogni. Use the code GBNews using the link in the description below and you'll get 60% off an annual payment plan.
Did you accept Powell's apology? Do you think it was vacuous or was it genuine?
Well, it was vacuous. I think if I had said, to call anyone a racist, which is basically what she did, it's a big charge. I hope and believe I'm not. I'm a Christian. I believe we're all made in the image of God, and I think to treat people differently because of the colour of their skin is a sin as much as anything. It's interesting, though, that, for example, Wes Streeting and Peter Kyle, who didn't make the error, have reached out to me and said, I hope you're OK, I'm sorry. Lucy hasn't rung me.
Interesting.
But much more importantly, I wonder if she's contacted the survivors, because they are the people she really is insulted.
I agree.
Not me. I'm big enough and ugly enough to cope. But every time a politician, when you've been through something as horrible as the grooming scandals, the only thing I think that could possibly make sense is that it couldn't happen again, that the authorities have learned something. But when you hear a Labour cabinet minister use exactly the same kind of language that suffocated debate in the past, you think they seem to have learned nothing.
Well, listen, Tim, some will ask whether you were using this opportunity to, as part of a political football with that topic. How do you respond to those claims?
Well, the question was raised by other people about why we were getting rid of why Reform was getting rid of diversity officers, and I wanted to explain the context. Sometimes, though, what I would say is people often say we don't want to make this a party political football because they know they're wrong on the issue.
Sure.
Things that often are sort of not in politics are neglected issues. And I think the worst thing we could do would not talk about the failure to still enact the recommendations of the inquiry into grooming. And there are 50 towns in Britain where grooming took place. 50. Labour promised investigations and inquiries into those local areas, and they haven't happened. That's what really...
Well, I want to dig into this with our panel, but I'm going to read this statement out here. An Oldham survivor told GB News, I really don't know who they think they are. Labour go from bad to worse. They are so disrespectful and dismissive of us and our trauma. Lucy Powell has also apologised on social media, saying, in the heart of the discussion on any questions, I would like to clarify that I regard issues of child exploitation and grooming with the utmost seriousness. I'm sorry if this was unclear. I was challenging the political point scoring around it, not the issue itself. As a constituency MP, I've dealt with horrendous cases. This government is acting to get to the truth and deliver justice. Dominic, I want to go to you.
Just very briefly.
Very briefly, go on.
Don't take my word for it. I ask you, listen to the debate.
Absolutely.
Who began the political point scoring? I don't think that's a genuine apology.
Yes, Dominic, I'll start with you. Do you accept Lucy Powell's apology on this? Do you think it's vacuous? As many, you saw the victim's statement there. Do you think she should resign over this?
Well, look, here as a commentator, I think it's very important that if an apology has not landed with one of the people who's meant to have received the apology, and you say a victim has said that, then clearly that apology has not worked. It is not sufficient because it has not been received. It's not been heard. I think it's a significant political issue for the government that victims of grooming and that people concerned by this, as we all should be, are saying it's not being dealt with properly. I think the Home Office have made some very sensible steps forward in terms of giving local authorities the power and funding to convene their own inquiries. We've had national statutory inquiries. The J report has made significant recommendations a long time ago now, and they were not enacted by a Conservative government for a long time, and there are things that have not been enacted now by the Labour government.
Well, in fact, as far as we might know, they have rescinded on 2 of the recommendations of the inquiry. One recommendation, compensation for victims. The second one was to extend the compensation for victims. So, John, I'll come to you on this, because we would argue the Tories didn't do anything with this matter. Labour may be taking steps backwards. The Tories didn't do anything at all. Can the public trust any of the 2 established parties to deliver justice for the victims?
Well, we need to press on and get to the bottom of this. The Tories did have inquiries. They didn't touch the right places. And so then they have now said they need an additional one. And they did tell officials to work on a compensation scheme. And I now understand this Labour government has decided to veto that on the grounds that they haven't got the money.
Yes.
But the Lucy Powell comment was just completely unacceptable. This is a very raw nerve. This is a disgrace.
Having been a minister, should she resign for that?
Well, I think she should. She should certainly do a lot better than she's done so far and make a proper apology to everyone who's taken it the wrong way, because it just simply wasn't the right thing to say, and the apology wasn't a proper apology. She's now saying that the government she's part of is doing all the right things. It's not. 50 cities or towns, and we might get inquiries in 5 if we're really lucky, but they seem to have been withdrawing even the 5. They're not going to be proper inquiries. You can't bring anybody before them and insist on them answering questions. So what is the point of it? We need a hard-hitting inquiry that gets quickly to the truth, and we want prosecutions. Things have gone horribly wrong. People in authority ignored all this, or did think that this was a dog whistle issue which they didn't need to bother about, when this was vital to the lives of these young people. And now we're told that people many years later who've suffered in this dreadful way from gang rapes and from drug taking that was forced upon them and so forth, are not even going to get any compensation. Well, I'm sorry, it's not good enough.
I think that'll be a very difficult pill for a lot of people to swallow, particularly as there's a lot of spending on other things that people may find ideological. Tim Montgomerie, thank you so much for coming in today. Really appreciate it. And thank you to the panel that you'll be staying with me.